Hello and welcome to the Emotionally Focused Therapy Podcast, hosted by EFT trainers Michael Barnett, Dr. Silvina Irwin, and EFT Supervisor Michael Preston. We are excited to bring you this first season of the Emotionally Focused Therapy Podcast, Foundations, where Michael, Silvina, and Michael will be breaking down the fundamental elements of EFT, helping to build your confidence as an EFT clinician.
Well, hello and welcome back to the Emotionally Focused Therapy Podcast. As always, my name is Michael Preston, your host, along with my co-host, who are not here right now for the intro, because we're going to be picking up from our last episode as part 2 of the EFT Externship parking lot questions recorded a few weeks ago. So thank you again for joining the Emotionally Focused Therapy Podcast. We are delighted to have you with us. I hope you all enjoy the rest of our conversation as we pick up with some stage 2 and beyond questions. Don't forget to follow and, if you can, like our episodes to help us reach more and more therapists wanting to learn how to do this incredible work.
Think we can move on to stage 2.
Stage 2,
All right.
boy.
We
Here
had
we
one
go.
stage 2 question, which is, it's an important, very, very important question. All right. But it's if a client takes a risk, like a risky emotional leap in stage 2, right? We've got them in the working models and we send that fear over and their partner does not catch them. What do we do next? I'm gonna let you all take this one.
This is tricky, and I guess I'm going to start in a very sensitive way by saying maybe some of this is stylistic, and maybe this is a product of training. There are a lot of us who have been training for a long time, and there are some of us who've been training for more recently. But one of the things that I took away from so much of the work that I did and the mentoring I got was to be extremely focused on the stability of de-escalation before going into stage 2. In other words, I'm going to hang out for several sessions with partners when they come in and they may say, hey, guess what, Michael? We're doing really well again. And particularly when they say it wasn't for lack of getting tested. We hit a few bumps and my partner caught it. And we actually had these really important conversations as a result. So I hear that session and I hear it again in another session and I hear it again in another session. I think, okay, these folks are really stable. I'm going to start shifting my sights to doing some withdrawal engagement. And the reality is when people know their cycle that well, unless they're really extenuating circumstances, like there may have been an attachment injury that either wasn't mentioned or it happened really a long time ago, that partners were saying, oh yeah, this thing happened, but we've survived it and we've, gone through life for these last 15 years and it really isn't a thing. But come to find out it is a thing and there's reactivity. Or when we're working with a lot of unresolved trauma and people move into stage 2, and then there's a predictable backslide, we can go into stage 1. But for the most part, for let's say the legendary mythical garden variety couple, there's not going to be much reactivity in stage 2 like that. That is like that means the cycle is not de-escalated. And I would not want to take a couple into stage 2 when they're not de-escalated. Right. So it's not just knowing your cycle, it's embodying your cycle. It's being able to understand it when it comes up, when the Michaels and Silvinas aren't in the room and they're coming in and saying, hey, we are doing pretty well. We're catching it and we're getting through it. There is not much reactivity in stage 2. So I've heard other people teach it differently. And I just want to say from where I come from, and I think you all as well, we would agree upon that, that by the time we take people into stage 2, there's a lot of stability, like an insane amount of stability that we're banking on. So if people do backslide, let's say there is unprocessed trauma, people know their cycle so well, we can actually move right into stage 1 work and they get it pretty quickly. And we can move them back into the stage 2 process pretty rapidly, a session or 2 at most. I don't know what your thoughts. I see you all nodding your heads a lot though. Yeah.
Yeah, I would 100% agree that by the time we've moved into stage 2 that, the foundation's pretty solid and it does not mean we don't have backslides, like you said,
Yeah.
early stage 2 processes with with folks with trauma histories. We expect the backslides and we expect, some of that to come up, but there's a different quality to it. It's not unexpected. It's not like, oh, where did this come from? Right? 'Cause we have a sense that our couples are more predictable at this point. Um, the other time that it comes up is if there has been an attachment injury that's not really been addressed,
Mhm.
either because the couple really had no kind of contact with it, maybe we missed it in our assessment, but that's another time. If you get some sort of block like that, we really have to slow down and get curious about what's coming up. And
Mhm.
I would say, a lot of times the culprit is an unaddressed attachment injury. And here we are, vulnerability is at a premium. Those things are going to rear their heads. Right. So we
Yep.
pivot.
Yeah. I would agree. I think, Michael, you said it before, and it's a part of my practices. I will linger in stage 1.
Yeah.
I really will, because for me, the level of engagement that I'm asking someone and how much of their heart I'm asking them to, like, really lay their heart on the line here. I don't want them to be met with a partner that goes, "I just can't I just don't believe them," which is a common response in stage 1. I don't want that to come out in stage 2 and then have to shift and someone's just really laid their fear out there. So for the most part, my couples will I deal with very few stage 2 um poor responses. I have people that are leaning in deeply in that moment. Yeah. So do some really, really heavy lifting in stage 1, and it will help your stage 2 work be much cleaner and linger there and I don't know, I'll just go back to supervision is just super helpful because I've not ever not been in supervision since core skills. I've just always been there. And it's just so helpful to really learn and deeply integrate the model and see, like, getting eyes on this stuff and just going, "Okay, we're gonna keep working until this gets really stable." So,
Oh, totally. I love what you just said, Michael, like the value of supervision. Barnett and I were just talking about this the other day of like, let's get eyes on each other's work again. Like, let's just, support each other. And, what am I not seeing? What am I missing? How could I do this a little differently? There's so much value in having eyes on our work and getting support in our process.
yeah, you're just so
And it's
lucky.
not to say that stage 2 is a cakewalk,
No.
it can be, very nuanced and complex and, there can be, very, very, very delicate moments,
Mhm.
but when you talk about bona fide blocks,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
But
that's
but it's different.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's really important what y'all are saying.
Cool. Well, I will just say, a lot of jealousy rolling up in there when you say, "Oh, we're gonna use our lovely relationship to also watch each other's work." And it's like, not everybody has this power to turn to that the wizard. So just
We're very fortunate in that respect. We
Please,
right.
talk shop a
just
lot.
go, like, mop up the floor with me. I'm terrified.
So
But
okay, that was
we
a
are so lucky. We're super, super fortunate.
yeah,
But the point is, I think I don't know how many years I've been practicing close to 40 years, and I've been in supervision for almost all of them. I still am in supervision. I
yeah,
always want to keep learning and growing and, you
yeah,
know, keep evolving our craft, right?
yeah.
It's complex work we do. It's so nuanced and it's gonna stir us up like crazy.
Mhm.
So, which is good, which is fine if you want to grow from it, which I hope most of us do.
All right. So that was our stage 2. Now we're gonna move to stage 3 question. One of the participants asked, "For couples who complete treatment, how do they keep it up? What is necessary for them to ensure that the changes stay intact so that they don't regress?"
I love that question, by the way. I think that is so sort of forward thinking. And it's not just about kind of putting out the fires that are right in front of you. Um, And by the way, there's a really lovely chapter in Sue Johnson's Hold Me Tight. I think it's the last chapter called Keeping Love Alive, which I think is really lovely and offers a lot of ideas. But one thing I would start with is ask the couple.
Mm-hmm.
Termination sessions or in our stage 3 work, it's a really valuable thing after we've, or when we've kind of summarized the arc of treatment, where they were, where they are, what's their sort of couple's narrative, asking them, what are some ways that you all can really protect the good work that you've done and protect your relationship? What are some things that could be helpful for you? And couples are really creative. Some couples, say, we really should just integrate this into our conversation, just checking in with how are we doing. Couples who have been through injuries can kind of forecast what are vulnerable moments that we might be up against and how can we be a team against those moments. And so I would start with that, with asking couples, how do you want to protect you and this
Yeah,
bond that you
I
have
love that
worked so
question.
hard to strengthen and create the secure processes that you've created?
Mm-hmm.
We could help couples kind of think through just some really sweet connecting rituals that can happen on a
Yeah.
basis, like when people get home from work or when they're about to start the day, or there may be some kind of really fun activities that they could do more routinely, take a yoga class, go hiking together, go, get involved in something that really they enjoy.
Mm.
So they're spending quality time together. I'll also say I liked hearing what you were saying, Sil, but made me think about how infrequently I have the opportunity to talk through that with people. Sometimes we'll do a more elaborate kind of um, closure and consolidation of the therapy. Oftentimes, people can also, these are really good practical suggestions, and I think they're very important. And another thing that starts happening that's also super powerful that is set in motion is people start doing essentially their own kind of bonding moments that are extremely deep, right? They're capable of going that deep with one another. And that continues to strengthen the bond that they've worked so intensely hard to create throughout the process of therapy. So, by the time people complete pursuer softening, there are usually some examples of moments in life where people have done that. I had a couple who was in their late 70s and they finished therapy and they both had hard, hard, hard lives. And one of the things that was so significant is they had a couple they were friends with, and one of the partners in the couple died.
Mm.
And neither one of them had ever grieved with anybody in their whole lives. And they leaned in and they grieved together. Now, that's not a ritual, but there's a bonding moment that occurred in real life. They were able, with their newfound way of connecting and understanding their emotional experience and being able to tolerate their emotional experience, they could lean into each other and support each other through that. And it only strengthened them as a couple. It was a real moment for them. So life happens from a secure base, right? And that's a very different part of the consolidating experience moving forward.
Yeah. I like to part of my process there is taking people on an arc um, of where we started and where they find themselves, and I use kind of a move forward, and I say, "What does this mean to you all?" Right, and I just help them form some really meaningful take homes for themselves and their relationship, what that really means. And if I can, I love asking, what have you all done so far that's been helping you along the way? Are there some touchstones that you guys have already started doing that keep your emotional connection alive and prioritized? So that's
Mhm.
I also like the question because I like the person is already imagining, like, "I'm gonna get there one day." I love that. I love it, right? So many, we're all, like, often hearing, "I'm never gonna get there. I'm never gonna get there," but I love that this participant was like, "No, I wanna get there, and when I do, I kinda wanna know what I'm gonna do."
Yeah.
So, alright. Hey, everybody. It's Michael Preston from the Emotionally Focused Therapy Podcast. First of all, just thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate your support, your love, your comments, your questions coming in. We love engaging with our entire audience. I'm also wanting to say thank you so much for all the great response to the Deliberate Practice EFT Tango group that will be starting in March. I'm excited to share that the class is full. You all are incredible. And the wait list for the next Tango Deliberate Practice Group is now open. So if you go to www.michaelprestonlpc.com/tango, it will take you right to the wait list where you can register your interest in participating in the next round of the Tango Deliberate Practice Group. What you will get is 3 full days to sign up for the Tango class when it opens before it's announced to general public. That means if you're on the wait list, I will send you an email saying the registration is open. You have 72 hours before I announce registration is open for the class, likely coming up in July. So if you want to be in the know, you want to know when we're starting, you want to know the dates and times, all of that ahead of everybody else so you can secure your spot before it fills up, make sure you get on the wait list. You can find the link to the wait list in the comments. We got 2 more questions here. This one's self of therapist, which is, again, just a really highly attuned to the training, saying, hey, this model seems highly attuned, highly empathic, and it sounds physically exhausting. So what does self-care look like for an EFT therapist? How do we stay okay? I'll kick us off here.
Okay. Wonderful.
But it's just very personal. I love having my hands in other things. So I've always loved being a therapist, but I really love making things. I love making things with like a carpentry. And it's really nice because I can start and finish a project in a day. And that is not what couple therapy is like. And I remind myself that, like, okay, good. There are some things in this world that I can get to and I can finish and it can look great and it can look beautiful. And I love creating beautiful things. And I find that really, really relaxing and caring. And then I love leaning into my wife, who's just an amazing spot for me, and enjoying things with her that we just don't talk about those works or the heavy days. But yeah, so I find things that are really personally enjoyable for me and meaningful to me, that remind me that there's loads of beauty and it could be made, just by kind of connecting to it. Or go fishing. I like fishing.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Fishing. So just finding those things that I can just really lean into and be present in a way, but that also don't cost me any emotional energy.
Mhm. Beautiful. I love hearing about some of what you do, Michael, to take care of yourself and
Yeah,
what brings you joy. Making room for that, right?
yeah.
That's wonderful. Um, I really appreciate this question. It feels so important. 'Cause when we don't take care of ourselves, we drop out, or, we can't really show up effectively because this is such an evocative and experiential model, and we are so very present. It takes a toll on us. And the toll that it takes on us can vary depending on context of the world, context of
Yeah.
our families, communities. There are times where I'm more resourced, sometimes where I'm not. As a newer therapist, I found my tank got, depleted much more quickly than, I've kind of built some muscle now. So I just want to acknowledge that capacity changes over time and context, with your own world. So I certainly value time in nature and highly encourage just being out anywhere you can literally like hug a tree, hug a tree, or,
Yeah.
or being, with others, obviously, Michael here, my husband, is a soft place to land, being in community. I know that's one of the reasons that we are so involved in the EFT CLA community. We shouldn't be doing this work in isolation. So really building those community connections and having fun, play, being out of the office with others and doing things that bring us joy, creative arts, things like that feels so important. and being very careful about how you stack your practice. Know thyself. know,
Yeah.
know what you're capable of and what you're not capable of, and what kind of resources you have, and give yourself permission to rest. We
Mhm.
have to give ourselves permission. And
Yeah.
sometimes we feel so much responsibility when
Yeah.
we're called to this profession, to ease suffering.
Mm.
It's hard sometimes to give ourselves permission to say, I need to just back up a minute and take care of myself. I mean, that's a really hard one for me. Here I am talking about it with you, and it's like one of the hardest things for me to do. So
Yeah.
it's a practice.
Yeah. It's like, be okay saying no to the next affair that walks in your office when you've already dealing with 3 heavy cases with affairs or traumas or addiction. It's like, okay, do I need to add
Yeah.
another heavy case to my load? And sometimes the answer is
Right.
no, and that's tough to say to people, but
It's very tough.
yeah.
It's very tough because it's what brought us into this profession. We care. We care so much.
Are there any cases that aren't heavy cases?
Yeah, not anymore.
Yeah, I don't see that anymore either. So I like the idea of being able to structure my practice differently, and I think that's good advice, but it's complicated. Um, I had a client a long time ago who was a therapist, and he was also like a generation older than me. Very interesting guy, and he and his wife have had many, many conversations. And where they landed was every 3 to 4 months they would take a long weekend together. And he said, to do this work, I have to find a way to unplug. So we have tried a little bit of plugging some of that in, take a few days. Living in California has been amazing because within just a couple hours from us, there's so many magnificent places to get out in nature,
Yeah.
go to the beach, to the desert, we're in the mountains. But I guess you find what your happy place is, and you all have named the main ones for me,
Well, I
which
think
would
also yours is music.
me. I was going to say that. I was going to
Yeah.
get there. Yeah. But nature, that's soul food. Love
Mhm.
being in nature. I love climbing. Like I said, we live in this space it's very nourishing.
Mm.
I love being with the people I love, and I have a good time with them. And, just like, being close and connected or laughing our butts off or whatever that might be, it goes a long way. And then, yeah, music. And this is a weird discovery. Music on a Friday night in particular makes the weekend seem longer. So
We discovered that recently.
yes, if you go out and there's like a really good band, like we love seeing live music. And I used to play a bunch of it, but my hand is a bit injured, so I haven't been able to do as much of that. But that is awesome. Love it. But the main thing is finding the things that fill you up and doing your best to make deliberate time for some of those things. And I know, as simple as it sounds, easier said than done. Like
Mhm.
I am not the best person to talk about work-life balance. I'm that
I'm
about.
thinking it the whole time. I'm like, you just don't turn people away. You're like, "Oh, I could do one more. I could do one
Yeah,
more."
I know. So I think it's a really good question, and I remember early on in some of my earliest supervising, there was a guy in Atlanta who's a very, very good EFT therapist, but he said, "God, I'm just getting the sense as I experience this model, how present you have to stay and
Mhm.
how much energy output that requires." And I was like, "Yeah, it really does." I think what I would say for myself is that that levels out in time, but we are working with really acute cases. And so, you kept using the phrase context, and that's a reality. So I think finding some time just to unplug and do other things. And like we had a winter break where we really did nothing, but not like it was really beautiful, just lighting fire in the fireplace and reading and hanging out and not having a schedule. As simple as that was so replenishing. It was so restorative. So we need to do that, and I think that's the main thing. Whatever way works for you personally,
Yeah,
any of us personally, is really important.
cool. Well, I wanna go to our last question, but I'll say this, and I don't wanna dive into this right now. There is an acknowledgement that stepping out of our offices, and we're all in the US, and so wherever you're listening, the US is not it's just not an easy place to walk about right now, right?
Sure.
And so it's not this our work is hard, and then we step out of our office and, like, what's around us is hard right now. Um, and that we're still people in this world and then also doing emotionally heavy work, right? And so this caring for self right now especially is just really important.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right. Tone shift, kind of a fun question here. Live sessions. Why do why
Yes.
why do couples even sign up for this crazy thing where, 30, 40, 50 people might be watching their life, their emotional process on the big screen? And how do we find these couples and convince them to do this?
Great question.
Yeah.
So any listeners out there, we hope you're paying attention because we certainly want to invite you if you have any couples that you think might benefit, from a live session, or that you would benefit from a live session. It's such a cool opportunity to have just a consultant come alongside you. When we do live sessions, and all of us here, I know Preston, you do live sessions, obviously Barnett, and I do live sessions. It's, we're not their therapist, right? We're
Mhm.
coming in as a consultant to bring forward a process and support the therapeutic process that they already are in with. So I will say one thing that oftentimes, and this might surprise people, but I would say 9 out of 10 of the couples that I work with in a live consultation are so grateful for the opportunity to not only have another therapist as a consultant, just have eyes on their process and bring another perspective, but it feels really good to be giving such a gift to the therapeutic community. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, we can help other couples. We can help other therapists learn. How amazing. And so they really realize the ripple effect that they're having and the impact that they're having by bringing their relationship forward. And it's very moving and it's very touching. So I'll say that's one thing that almost all couples have said, yes, a chance to help the therapy community, a chance to help other couples by bringing our relationship forward. Yes, we'll do that.
That's paying it forward,
Yeah, it
right?
is. It's
Couples
lovely.
like that a lot. But
It's also
also,
free.
and they're
What
Also
was
free.
that?
free for it's also free for the
And
couple.
it's free.
And it's powerful to have, we all internalize the model through who we are. So the way each of us does EFT is a little bit different, and it speaks more to our own voice and our own experience and our own integration of the model. So the words we use, the things each one of us might be more sensitive to as we pick it up as it's happening in session is a little bit different than what the therapist has been doing. So it's very additive, and couples tend to get kind of another perspective or there's a slightly different experience they'll have that may help them take another step or two forward in their process of feeling more bonded and more connected. They will discover something differently from the interaction with a different therapist, right? And oftentimes live sessions are being done by very, very experienced EFT therapists, right? So in some ways, their therapist gets to learn something and can then help them more. The couple gets resourced even more, and again, it's often a really nice leap forward in the therapy process.
Mhm.
So people tend to really get a lot out of them, and tend to
Mhm.
really like them once kind of the ice is broken and the anxiety begins of working with a new therapist falls away.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had a few couples come to lives, and I've really enjoyed them. And then because I was in Mississippi at the time, Atlanta was like a destination. So I was like, look, you get to come to Atlanta
Yeah.
and y'all can have a weekend. And some couples really latched onto that. And one of the couples that did with Michael, they came to Atlanta for the weekend. They started it off with this really lovely session you did with them. And then they had, but the next time I saw them, they really, they had such a lovely weekend together. And it was primed by this live session. So it had a payoff that wasn't just the session, but the rest of the weekend was really lovely. Right?
Can I riff off that for 1 second?
Sure.
I have a really funny moment that is on tape where I started taking this guy deeply into his emotional experience for his very first withdrawal engagement. And they had come into Atlanta, and it was very exciting. And he goes, he looks at me for 1 second. And he goes, "By the way, you do know you're ruining date night, don't you?" It turned out they really connected from the session, but it took him into some spaces he's not used to
Yeah.
going. But
Yeah.
that's exactly. You
So
realize
yeah.
you're ruining date
So
night.
that's there's a little added bonus there, right? They get
Yeah.
this lovely experience. they get feedback, they get their strengths from the therapist. That's been really meaningful for a lot of couples, and I
Mhm.
share that with them. Like, it's not just like eyes on you. These eyes are also gonna share their strengths with you and give you something you can put on your fridge to take home and remind yourself there's a lot of strength in your relationship, and people hang on to those things. So, a lot of great
Mhm.
reasons to do lives. I think, Sil, you were saying recently, I'm really trying to look for very highly escalated lives. Is that right? You were saying, would you guys just
What
bring, like,
Higher the escalation, the more interested you are. Isn't that what?
Hey, yes,
sure, why
bring
not,
it.
right? But anyway, yeah, I think, yeah, because we have, I do a thing called EFT in action. That's once a month, and people can reach out and say, "Hey, would you work with this couple?" And the couple gets to come for free. The therapist gets to come to the live for free. The therapist gets a copy of the tape, so they can keep learning and studying from it. So it's a really great for therapist and for the couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I would say really wherever the couple is at. I know we were just kind of joking a little bit about maybe the challenge of working with the escalation, and there's so much value in that,
Mhm.
and being able to come alongside folks in like really, really a lot of distress and very reactive.
Yeah.
Um, I think the last thing I will say about that is oftentimes, therapists are helped because couples come in sometimes a little bit differently when they're coming in for a live consultation. There's a level of focus of like, okay, we've got one session and we know other people are going to watch this, and so there's sometimes a little level of containment and focus that structure offers. So sometimes we can bring the couple to an experience that's a little harder to come by in a
Yes.
in a therapeutic extended therapeutic process, so you can go farther faster,
Yep.
which can help then the therapist carry that back into the work with the couple, which is kind of cool.
Yep. Great. Yep. And also a good reminder for the therapist continuing to work with them. Um,
Exactly.
so, all right, we've got to wind down here. Um, this is why parking lot's so hard to take care of in extensions, because it builds and you can keep talking about it. But as always, it's such a pleasure to spend time with you all and just talk and riff on these things. So it's just
Yeah,
really good to see you all.
Good to see you too.
really fun. I'm glad we're kicking off 2026 really well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, until next time,
All
Until
right.
next time.
take care.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Emotionally Focused Therapy Podcast. We hope this podcast is an encouragement to your EFT journey, bringing clarity and understanding of EFT to your work. Don't forget to subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcast to stay up to date with each new episode. To learn more about training or supervision opportunities with Michael Barnett, go to michaelbarnettlpc.com. With Dr. Silvina Irwin, go to drsilvinairwin.com. And with Michael Preston, go to michaelprestonlpc.com. Tune in again next time to hear more of this great conversation.